Now, do you believe in ghosts? I don't know if we've ever had this conversation before.
You're right. I don't think we have. I say no, but I don't. But I'm not passionate. Like, oh my God, there's absolutely no such thing as ghosts. I think most of the time, people experience ghosts. It's power of suggestion or any number of reasons like that. But would it shock me if I were to encounter something that had no explanation? Like, no, I'd be like, okay, that was a ghost, I guess, but I don't know if it would be like a huge shattering of my worldview, you know?
Mm-hmm. When I was a kid, I believed in ghosts, and this is a bit of a story, so buckle up. I used to live in Niagara Falls with my parents and my sister.
Right.
Every night, my
Before
mother
you
would...
threw her over the falls.
I did, yeah. And then she came back to haunt me.
She damn it, she wasn't supposed to be in a barrel.
But my mother used to come and tuck us into bed every night, right, in separate rooms. And I'm laying there. My mom comes and tucks me in. I'm like, 7 or something. And my mom walks away and leaves. She goes downstairs to hang out with my dad or whatever. And I see my sister walk past my bedroom door in the hallway. And I'm laying there for a couple of minutes, and I thought, well, that's not fair. If she gets to be up, I want to be up. And I go downstairs, and I say to my parents, I'm like, that's not fair that Emma's up, and I have to go to bed. And my parents kind of look at me, and they're like, she's not up. And I'm like, yeah, I just saw her walk past the door.
She's been dead for 40 years.
Yeah. And I was like, yeah, I just saw her walk past the door. They're like, no, you didn't. And my mother's like, she's in bed. And we both walk back upstairs, and she's sound asleep in her bedroom. And I'm like, that's weird. So I didn't really think about it again for like a decade. And then my dad and I are having dinner. We had just moved to Kingston in 2006. And we're having dinner. And I tell him this story. And he says to me, and I kid you not, he goes, I remember that story. He said, I had seen a little girl who looked a lot like your sister in that house multiple times. He said, and I never told you because I didn't want to scare you. But yeah, my dad was like, I'd seen this girl ghost plenty of times. He said, and like a week or two after the issue that you had, that you thought you saw your sister walking down the hallway, I was downstairs watching football, and he said, I thought your sister had come down the stairs. And I turned to your mom and said, geez, Louise, I thought you put her to bed. Come on, she's still up. She's still walking around the place. Put her to bed. And your mom turned to me and said, honey, she is in bed. So I went upstairs, and there she was, sound asleep in bed. And this little girl that came down the stairs was nowhere to be found. And then I worked at an old theater here in Kingston, and there's all kinds of ghostly things happen.
I think you told me a bit of this, yeah.
All it is my first night working there, I walked up to the dressing rooms, and I walked in, there was a man standing there with like a suit on, and I said, oh, sorry. And I backed out, and it was like 2 o'clock in the morning, and I'm like, wait a minute, nobody's supposed to be in here. So I said, sorry, sir, just to let you know, the theater's closed, you have to leave. We have to clean this, yada, yada, yada. And I'm like, sir? And I pop back in. Totally gone. There's nobody there. And then just stuff like that happened over the course of a couple of years. So yeah, so I think I
Kingston, Kingston, like a lot of touristy cities, not that, I mean, Kingston's a tourist city for like a Canadian family that can't afford to leave Canada, right? It's not like... You know what I mean, though. It's like, listen, it's got as good a weather in all of Canada, basically, and it's got water. It's pretty, but it's a bit of a touristy city as far as Canadian cities go. Mm-hmm. But like a lot of other cities, Kingston has the ghost tours. Do they highlight your theater in those ghost tours? Do you know? Did you ever see those people with the black robes and lanterns walking around outside your theater?
I don't know if... I don't think so. But I'll tell you, though. Remember the show Ghost Hunters? And there was like a big bald guy and then like a guy with like black hair. I mean,
listen, I know what all these shows are, but I don't know the difference between any of them, and it's like, so I know vaguely what the show is, but
there was one specifically called Ghost Hunters, and then they had like a spin-off show called Ghost Hunters International, but it was Ghost Hunters.
Okay, I've heard of Ghost Hunters International in particular, yeah.
Yeah, but Ghost Hunters had come up to Kingston to film like a special, like an hour-long special in Kingston at Fort Henry and all around in like these carriageways. And back in the day, there used to be a television program on TV, of course, called Creepy Canada. and it was ghost
Okay.
stories about like in Canadian cities or in the woods across Canada, right? And they had a couple specials on Kingston because Kingston's a pretty old city as far as cities are concerned in Canada.
Yeah, it's as old as Canadian cities get.
Yeah, pretty much, yeah. Yeah, and there had been a fort here since, the late 1600s, early 1700s, So, yeah. But then some people claim that limestone attracts ghosts, or that it's for
fuck's sake.
all that bullshit, and Kingston's the limestone city.
Now, if I were to create an impassioned argument against ghosts, if I really wanted to argue with you, which I don't, because like I said, I would believe if I experienced something. I just haven't experienced something, so I have no real reason to believe. Mm-hmm. But I guess my biggest question with ghosts is why? You know what I mean? Like, not every person who died haunts somebody or haunts a place, right? Obviously, because we've had billions of people die over the course of human history.
Yeah.
So, and then you hear about it's the people that are ghosts. It's because they have unfinished business. And it's like, why is your unfinished business flickering the light on and off in some old bar? Like, you know what I mean? Like, what are ghosts? what makes a ghost and what makes it act out? And
yeah.
I know I'm sure there's been books on this stuff and people claim to know, but I guess obviously we don't really know because there's dispute as to whether or not they exist, and like I said, I'm not really sure they exist. But yeah, I don't know. Like, if it were like, and it's like, is there like a religious aspect? Like, is it only Christian ghosts? Well, no. Mm-hmm. Okay, is it only religious ghosts? No. There's been ghosts of people who I don't know. And yeah, I don't know. And then it's like, and then there's like different categorizations of ghosts too. Like poltergeists, I think, are supposedly the ghosts that are like violent, and it's like, okay, but like, I don't know.
Well, one of my favorite questions I've ever heard asked about ghosts was, why is it always old-timey people that are ghosts? Why isn't there like a ghost of like a hipster who got hit by a bus 2 years ago or something?
It's because, again, this is the power of suggestion angle that we imagine. When we think ghosts, we think old Gothic 19th century stuff. We think Henry James. We think, so that's, I think that's probably why they tend to be older people. Like, yeah, it was, I don't know. Yeah, I want a ghost from, I want like a Gen Z ghost, like a kid who died young or something, and then this ghost just turns on, takes your phone and opens up TikTok every now and then or something.
Yeah, and you're like, no, this poltergeist is terrible.
Yeah, I want some. We need some young blood in our ghosts.
Or like a kid who died during like a Tide Pod challenge, like you walk into the kitchen.
Oh, that's a
and
good
your
one,
Tide
yeah.
Pods package has been opened. You're like, God damn ghosts!
Yeah, why did a ghost go through my laundry? Oh,
yeah,
that's
stop
nice.
eating all my Tide Pods, you bastards!